Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fintech Times. We're here at Sibos 2022 held in lovely Amsterdam, although the sun hasn't joined us today, so it's not quite as nice, but it's still lovely to be here. I'm joined today by Carlos Garcia of Buckzy Payments. Carlos, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, Tyler.
Thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here with us.
Thank you.
So much going on at Sibos this week. We're only on day 2.
Yes.
And were you here yesterday?
Yes, I was here.
Yes. Yeah. What did you make of day 1?
Well, it was pretty interesting. Like, it's always very interesting to come to Sibos and meet friends.
Yes,
and see where the banks are going, right?
Yeah.
So it's always fun come to Sibos. Yeah.
Fantastic. How many times have you been?
I think it's my 3rd time.
Oh wow! Really?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh gosh, it's my first time. I feel I'm such a novice here.
Yeah.
But well, fantastic. Well, it's great to have you with us. But before we get on with our conversation, we've got a very interesting conversation lined up. Why don't we give our viewers just a bit of an insight into who you are and what Buckzy Payments sets out to achieve?
Sure. My name is Carlos Garcia. I'm Chief Operating Officer for Buckzy Payments. Been in payments for over 25 years. What Buckzy wants to provide, actually, it's exactly an ecosystem where you can have instant payments, but even if the rails don't allow you instant payments. So we want to provide not only the payment, but everything that is required to complete a payment, like the compliance, the fraud, the monitoring, and everything that you need to do. Independent where you are, independent the language that you speak, independent the way you pay, we have a solution where you can have your standard banking if you're used to, or we can customize to whatever your customer needs are. Like to provide the most customized experience if possible to, friction, eliminating the friction of the payment as much as we can.
Fantastic. Well, it's you're in the right place to discuss payments here at Sibos. Everybody's here today, so it's a perfect environment. In terms of, you've had a career that's spanned over 2 decades.
Yes.
Right. How have you seen payments, or the process of completing a transaction? How have you seen that change in those 2 decades?
Oh, it was especially the cross-border payments, right? It changed drastically. Not only the costs, the way people were doing payments. Like when I started, they were filling forms, going to, they need to leave home, take cash in hand, right?
Yeah.
So to actually move money cross-border, right? Or even companies to do their payments. It's a 45-minute process at least, right? And today you can do with 2-3 clicks, right? Instant, with probably 80% less cost than it was before, right? So payments, I would say, like moving money globally, and we are not there yet. Like it's going to get even more, like we are going to get to the point where paying a bill domestically, like here, or paying a bill in another country is going to be practically the same cost, right?
Do you see in that time that the process of handling money and moving money, and especially completing transactions, do you think that it's become more prone to risk or less prone to risk because of the innovations of the technology?
That's a good question. Some people see as more because of internet, because of not knowing who is actually doing that specific payment, right?
Yeah.
That's why as important as the payments are moving, there is another, the identity, how to control your identity online, the sovereign identity, right? It's completely tied to all of this that we are seeing. Some countries, they're well advanced in terms of how to identify people. Like I'm from Brazil originally.
Okay.
In Brazil, 4 billion transactions a year are biometric already. So some countries are well advanced. Now they just launched the instant payment, so you have a biometric instant transaction already. Of course, this is going to take time until all the countries advance to the certain level. That's why in our platform we try to have talk with the old and the new at the same time. And the thing is, you need to make the old as compatible with the new as possible, and that's about the real-time aspect we give, right? But in the future, it's going to be, oh, this is going payment, CDBC, identity. It's going to be, how can I move money without a card, without password, right? So this end state is way more safer than today.
Yes.
But until we get there, that's the challenge where we can see some,
That's the goal, sort of the
where you have people actually defrauding, and you have all the compliance and fraud systems actually getting modern AI, right? Because you don't wanna stop good transactions. They're actually 99% because of one of bad actors' transactions, right?
Yeah.
That's the challenge.
So how does the technology of Buckzy Payments sort of fit in with risk and security, and especially compliance as well? You mentioned
it is the most important. Moving money from A to B is easy, right? But how to do all the compliance check, how to do all the onboarding check, and still do an instant payment or near real time. That's why you don't say instant, because it doesn't exist, right? What we have is near real time. So the system needs to be as fast as actually the payment, the one that is moving the funds, to check on you, right? To check your identity, to check who you are, and to check, all the lists that we need to check. And this gets bigger and bigger and complex and more complex, right? And if you're crossing border, you need to comply with two sides, two different sets of rules, right? So it's all about, that's why AI is really important to here, right? So we will not delay the transaction. We can delay a lot of transaction because of all the checks that we need to do. So we need to comply, we need to move fast, and that's the most challenging part of the platform. It's not the payments itself. It's all the satellite systems that we need surrounding the payment, because they need to be as fast as the one that is moving money.
And in terms of real-time payments that you've really touched upon, is that going to be, as you mentioned earlier, the end goal for the industry, or is it just going to be part of its journey? Are they going to be here forever? What's your view on that?
I think there's no way back, right? Because it's about moving the money, being sure that it's safe, it's compliant, irrevocable, right? And it's cheaper. Because today all the banking system works on guarantees, works on collateral. Right? When you have this kind of instant payment that is settled right away, there's no need for collateral. So it's cheaper for the banks too, right? For everybody. Right? The only thing is that all this open environment allows the customer to grow everywhere, right? But it's good too, right? So the customer is not, used to say sometimes the banks, they have hostages, not customers, because the customer cannot move freely, right? But this is changing with all the open banking. So all of this is converging to the same. So customer will decide, it's going to be an open marketplace. My identity is going to be my identity. The information is going to be mine, and I can move the information whenever I want. Right.
In terms of payment innovations, I mean, your company is really sort of at the forefront of the innovation of payments at the moment. When we look at alternative forms of making transactions, we look at things like digital assets, cryptocurrencies, especially CBDCs. I know in Brazil they have or in the LATAM region, they have a lot of exciting projects going on. But do you think that's ever really going to come into sort of mass use?
It's exactly, this reduction of cost is what is enabling to the mass use, right? Because decomplicating the payment, making it less complex, making the onboarding, because if you go to LATAM, for example, you're talking about Brazil, again, 60 million unbanked. Right. So when you go open the market, we start with the faster payments, where I need my phone to pay. My onboarding can be done right away. I can leverage my biometric. You start allowing those new entrants to actually finally have a bank account or a fintech account, right? So, and for those countries, it's important because it's unsafe to have cash. Right? So it's also enabling more and more everything going digital. What is good for regulators, because they can see more what is happening, right? So everybody wins by the end, right? And I believe it's here to stay.
Yeah.
right? It's not going to, you see Fed now in US, soon Canada is going to move right after. As soon as US moves, like it's going to be hard the rest of the countries not to move. Europe is far ahead, so Europe is already there, right? So I'm not. It's just North America where we really focus in Latam, because all those changes are happening as we speak, and the next 2 years are going to be critical, I believe.
Definitely. In terms of Sibos more specifically, one of the overarching topics of the conference is progressive finance. And
Yes.
this sort of move to ESG. You've obviously been in the industry a very long time.
Yes.
Even when removing it from the industry, you know that people weren't so aware of sustainability and sustainable practices. How does Buckzy Payments fit into that sort of ESG, the necessity to do good, to achieve good? I mean, what do you think the future of progressive finance looks like?
I think it's all about all those innovation, opening the market, allowing new entrants, right? Because we have underserved customers, you also have underserved businesses, right?
Yeah.
So if you have, let's say, like people who sell a small farm selling coffee, right? And Starbucks is buying, right? For them, it's also hard to understand how I'm going to get paid. Right. So as soon as we create products that are more customized, that talk to the language to exactly that specific farmer that wants to pay for that invoice, and they don't want to go to a bank and they don't know what SWIFT means, right? So getting there, actually, we are introducing more entrants to the market. All this customization is lowering the costs to actually our partners that are building those products. We can actually leverage the licenses. Buckzy currently is licensed in Canada, in India, in UK. And you're expanding that to here, Netherlands, and US. So we can provide a really custom. You don't know that actually you're paying an invoice. If you go to a bank, it's going to be a completely different process. But for them, it's click. It's just a button, right? That's what we want to get, right? Each payment is different. Right.
Yeah, definitely. But how is open banking going to fit into that sort of need for customization?
Oh, it's critical, right? I think all the pain points of one of the pain points, for example, is the onboarding, right? Is the information, is the history, right? Who you are, right? And who you are comes, it's your information. But today it's not easily accessible from you, right? So open banking is going to allow you to this information to flow. You are going to manage it, right? It's going to be some sort of certified information because it comes from the finance ecosystem between the banks or between the fintechs, mostly regulated, right? And it's going to make way easier to know who you are because I can use systems to do that, right? I don't need to create a relationship with you. It's the same as you change a bank today, right? You need to create a relationship, then you start receiving the credits and all the products. This is going to be expedited, right, when you move to FI. So if I want to move from FIA to B, I just go there, allow the FIB to actually read my information from FIA. That is amazing. Like that's it cuts the time, probably months of your experience on the new FI.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I think you've done really well to emphasize how the importance of the capabilities of open banking, and especially what it's going to do to things like financial inclusion. In Latam, you said there were millions of people without bank accounts, so it'd be really fantastic to see that more widely implemented and continue with the positive trajectory that it's currently on. In terms of your attendance at Sibos, I mean at Buckzy Payments, can I ask why are you here and what are you hoping to achieve through your attendance?
We are always here to actually expand our network, right? Because we have a lot of partner banks on the network. Create new contacts, offer our partnership to other companies that are already here, right? So it's like we always have very good business at Sibos.
Fantastic. And what are you looking forward to the most? Is there any names you're down to meet or?
Well, the big ones, the small ones, we don't have actually. It's about coverage, right? For us, it's about expanding. Be because our payment infrastructure also have liquidity spread around the globe, right? So since not all rails are instant, we need to cut the speed of the payment. Like if you do a SWIFT, that you have the payment, the cash in and the cash out. We try to expedite as much as we can.
Okay.
With our treasury team to have the liquidity exactly what liquidity you need for that specific day, so the payment can go away right after the customer needs, right? And for that I need a network,
Yeah.
right? So not only banks but also liquidity providers. So that's why they are all here.
Well, you couldn't be in better company.
Oh,
so
yeah.
It's fantastic. Well, thank you very much for stopping by and to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Carlos Garcia from Buckzy Payments, and I hope you enjoy the rest of Sibos. It's only day 2, so anything could happen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.